cloud.
Yeah,
There we go.
perfect.
Okay, cool. All righty. So moving along, I'll just go back to there. There we go. All right. So just a basic layout here. Some of you might be familiar with rips and currents. A lot of people that I come across will refer to rips and currents as the same thing, but I'm here to tell you they're not. Currents, that in some small aspect they are, but currents is where the whole ocean will move in one direction. A rip, in essence, is just a body of water that moves out to sea. Now that can be at an angle, it can be straight out. But looking at this picture here that hopefully everyone can see, you can see where the incoming waves are, and the ocean's got to come in, but where all that water, excess water, needs to drain out somewhere. So you can clearly see on this picture where those rips are. I try to pick quite a definitive one. It's not always easier to see rips because rips can be sort of somewhat secretive, but generally they look like that. It's sort of like a river rapid that moves in the opposite direction of where the whole ocean is actually coming from. So they do stand out, but at times they don't. A lot of questions I get is people asking, how do you identify it? It's definitely easier to see from a higher point advantage because you can look down and actually see the shape of the sandbar. You can sort of see where the whole ocean is moving in a particular direction, and it's quite easy to identify. But if you're at ground level, it's really, and there's waves breaking everywhere, sometimes it's really hard to see that. But the rips can actually be your best friend as a surfer, because instead of paddling out through the wave breaking zone where it says incoming waves, you can actually just jump in that rip and go straight out and then paddle across to where the waves are breaking, or be on that edge anyway. So that's basically what a rip does. There's a few different types of rips. Some say at the Seaway, Shane and Jennifer, like we went this morning, sometimes the rip, well, there's a pretty consistent fixed rip under that jetty all the time. And you could probably distinctively see that, where that water's just flowing out at a rate of knots. That's because that sort of sand pumping system. But if you look up near the rock wall there's generally a rip running out next to that as well. So that can be your best friend, or in some cases it can be your worst nightmare. So it really does, mean that, whenever you go to the beach, you just got to take that time, have a good look around, spend 5 minutes just watching how the ocean's moving and all the directions that, things are sort of happening in front of you. If there are lifeguards or lifesavers around like myself, come up and ask us. We'd love to actually, provide more information to you, so that way we don't have to actually come out and rescue you. Because like Sally said, the last 6 months to a year, and obviously with COVID going on, everyone's picked up a surfboard and have been really keen to get out and amongst it. So it's a good thing for surfing. It's a good thing for active individuals, but yeah, it can come with its perils as well. So yeah, it's just good for everyone to understand at least the environment they're about to go into. Any questions on the rips? Nope. Okay, I'll go to the next one. So how to spot a rip, deeper or darker water. So you can basically look at the ocean, and what I was talking about before is with the rips there, the whole ocean is a particular distinctive color. With the rips and how they move out to sea, it's usually the sand is stirred up from the bottom like a bit of a whirlpool. So that's one of those really obvious signs, and the fact that it's like a river rapid that just circulates, and sometimes it moves out pretty quick, sometimes it's in that whirlpool effect. So the other aspect is that it's darker type color generally, sometimes lighter. So you really see it if you spend that time looking at that whole ocean. and you see that rip in particular, you'll see the effects of it. It'll chew up that sand, it'll change color. There's a lot of different sort of aspects to it. But like I say, there's a few different rips, fixed, permanent, flash rips, which we get on shore breaks sometimes. And they're like the dangerous ones for the little kiddies that just pick you up off your feet, drop into that deeper water, but then they dissipate and go away. And then some are just there for months on end. So it's sort of obvious. You go back and surf the same place all the time, and that one rip is there. That's great. You really get to know that rip quite well. But sometimes you go to other places where there's different contours to the beach shape or rocky outcrops, and you've just got to, it's really important to spend that time looking at where the water flow is actually going, because then you just get that better understanding of that environment you're going into. So,
Sorry.
yes.
Can I just ask, what's the difference between a rip and a sweep, and how they
no worries. So the sweep is similar to the current. You know, we get the northerly swells, we get the southerly swells. I'll use a southerly swell, but when that happens, a sweep and current is generally the same thing, where that whole ocean will move quite quickly in that one direction. It's either from north to south or south to north, especially here on the Gold Coast. So, you know, with that sweep and current, especially if you're close to shore, you'll really feel it pulling. Unfortunately, you know, the smaller children and the elderly struggle in those sort of conditions when they're close to shore, because they just get swept off their feet and they get rolled around like a rag doll. So you've got to run down there and sort of pick them out of the water. The rips, like I say, it's generally a smaller body of water. Sometimes they really open up, but in comparison, the whole ocean's moving, and in the current and sweep situation, but in the rip situation, it's just a particular body of water that will just move generally out to sea, whereas the sweep and current moves in a crossward direction adjacent to shore, if that makes sense. So hopefully that clarifies that.
Rory, can I just ask the question as well?
Yeah, go for it, Dale.
Is it right to say the bigger the waves are, the bigger the rip will be? Because more water's coming in and more water's got to get out?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
General physics would suggest that for sure, Dale. Absolutely. Because, I mean, most of the time, majority of the time, that will definitely be the case. Except maybe on like a full moon and a small swell, we'll get larger tides. So as a keen surfer, you're checking the tides, you're checking the wind conditions. When you check the tides, you'll see it varies, like sometimes 0.8 of a meter from low to high, or to be 1.7 between low and high. So it really does pay attention to look at those variations of how much water volume is actually going to move through that day. But yeah, generally, Dale, for sure, when the waves are bigger, the currents are definitely stronger. That's definitely the rule of thumb there for sure. But you know, like I say too, when it is smaller, don't be lulled into a false sense of security, because it can still have some effect, maybe not as big of an effect as the bigger stuff, but yeah, that's generally the rule. So we talked about the sandy coloured water extending beyond the surf zone, debris or seaweed. So after some of the rains that we've had, you'll see the outflows of Tullabudgera Creek or Tweed River. You see all that dirty water going out, and there's debris floating around in that. That's a really good indicator too, that, you know, obviously where that water movement is going, where that debris is going, that's generally where that water flow will go to. Sort of goes hand in hand. But that's, you know, if you're having trouble, you know, sitting at the top of the sand dune and going, I've been watching it for 5 minutes, I can see a little bit of sandy water here, or a different colorization in the rips or the surface of the water. Can't really tell, but then maybe like a bit of seaweed will come up, and then you can just see that floating around, or a seagull might actually land, you know, sit in the water, and you just watch that bird just slowly cruising out to sea in a rip. So just little things like that can help really help you identify sort of what's happening there. significant water movement, as Dale said, when the swells are bigger, you know, generally that you'll get a lot more water just racing out, and that's where it can be really deadly and dangerous. But if there's bigger full moon tides, say, as well, you can still have significant water movement, but just sort of on a slightly reduced scale. So yeah, sometimes it will be easier to look for rips where the waves are breaking consistently, and then look to each side of the rip, the breaking waves, and just see how that water flow is going out. It's like looking at your perfect peak and just seeing how that outflow, the water will go out like a curly moustache out the side of the face, you know. And you'll be able to help, that'll help you identify things as well. If you're going to a patrol beach, like where I'm working, and we'll put danger signs there, that's a dead giveaway, because we're always onto the rips. We try to keep people out of the rips all the time. That's one of the biggest problematic things for us lifeguards and lifesavers, is putting the danger sign out to say there's a rip here, don't swim here, but people will still just, you know, no one really pays attention to signs that we put out. So they'll just go in and then they'll cry for help because they didn't want to listen to us or pay attention. So if you're a surfer rocking up, you see a danger sign, definitely that's where our rip is. But please, once again, feel free to come up and ask us, because we're happy to pass on our knowledge and obviously reduce any potential hazards that might arise. So yeah, the question you got to ask yourself is, can you spot a rip? If you can spot a rip, you're halfway there, because rips can change shape, location, and quickly. And like I say, they might be difficult to see. So, you know, that's why it's really crucial as a surfer or aspiring surfer, or even just going down to any beach or new environment, or aquatic environment, you know, even could be a river or rock pool. You know, it's really important just to spend that time, have a suss. Like with rock pools and dirty rivers, if you happen to have a swim there, it's like fresh water, you might want to just jump in and even just feel around a little bit, just to see if there's, because you just don't know what's under the surface. Now, I'm not talking about dangerous critters or creatures, but just rocks or jammed logs or anything like that that might cause you harm. So it's just good to be sort of just onto it like that, and being at the beach, just pay attention, just come down, spend 5 minutes having a look, watch out the frequencies of the sets, look for anything obvious that we've discussed just now, and yeah, you'll have a much better experience. So what I'll do now, I've set up a bit of well, there's a little video here that will just show you exactly what I'm talking about. So we've got rocky outcrops, we've got the waves coming in, you'll just see the water movement. So we'll just see if we can spend that time having a look at that. Sorry. Pause and share. Just bear with me for a second. There we go. Just hopefully it'll play, because I test ran it the other night and it should play. Oh dear. This is not good. Play.
If it doesn't play, Rory, that's all good. I can email it to everybody afterwards.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, sorry. Like, I don't know what's happening here, and yeah.
No, that's all good.
Sorry about that, but it's just a basic video that will just show you how the rips work, what to look for in the breaking waves and everything like that, how that flow is going. It's just a short video. It'll give you a really detailed sort of description. So I apologize for that. I don't know why it's not working, but we'll just move on.
It's a PowerPoint thing. It's happened before, so it's not you. It's the application.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. Just before we do, is there any questions? Any other questions in regards to some of the things I've just explained with rips and currents? Anyone not understand or want any more elaboration on that? No, all good. All right, cool. I'll move along to the next slide. So how to survive a rip current. I'm just going to move that there. So if you're caught in a rip, I reckon it's really important, especially if you're with someone or even just on your surfboard, is just to go and jump in a rip. You just want to get used to that feeling. I think the biggest thing, you know, a lot of people, you know, when they do get stuck in a rip is just that level of instant panic. I'm not used to this feeling. I don't understand what's going on. So yeah, I would totally encourage everyone here to, you know, at some point go and jump in that rip. It can be your best friend to get you out the back of the surf straight away. So I think it's, you know, it's really important. You want to stay calm, conserve your energy. You know, when we panic and we get fearful of things, we're going to, especially in the surf, and I've experienced this myself, I've seen it a lot, is you use up oxygen. You're just like, oh, I'm really not knowing what's going on. I'm getting swamped by waves. The water's pulling me out, the waves are pushing me under. I'm super tired. I'm stressed. I can't understand what's happening here. Just really get intimate with rips. They're your best friend. If you can understand how they work and why they work, you can really use them to your advantage. I think that, I mean, the majority of people that I deal with or we rescue are people that just don't understand, you know. And once again, it's just how strong that ocean can be, how like confronting it can be sometimes, you know, and depending on which beach geographical layout there is, you could be just screaming past rocks, getting pushed out. You could be under the jetty at the Spit, just getting thrashed next to the pylons, and they've got barnacles all over them, and you're just getting ripped to shreds, you know. So that just exacerbates the panic. And this sort of comes back to some of the things that Sally was talking about earlier with her breath apnea work. Although, you know, like she says, it's tailored for surfers and free divers, I think you can apply it in most of your daily situations, whether like in life, where it could be someone, you know, where it could be a confrontation with a work colleague, could be, you know, a situation where maybe you nearly get run over by a car crossing the road. It could be anything that just heightens that sort of sensitivity level. So I totally encourage everyone here, if you haven't done so, to do a breath apnea course, because it is really beneficial, you know, psychologically and physiologically. So staying calm is the biggest thing. The less energy you can use, the better it is for you. You're not going to panic, you know, staying as calm as you can in most situations. And that's super hard to do. You've got to be the eye in the storm, so to speak, with things that are happening so much around you. You've just got to channel your inner Zen and just go, I've got this. I know what I need to do here. And that's once again coming back to familiarizing yourself with the conditions, being used to being comfortable, being uncomfortable, if that makes sense. So, like I say, it can be your friend. So if you are struggling, you know, especially near a patrolled area, you obviously raise your arm, you know, call out if you can. My job is to be able to assess you that you're in trouble before you actually put your hand up. The surf lifesavers, they're volunteers, so they might not be as sharp or aware like us. I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet. I'm just saying that, you know, as a professional lifeguard, I need to recognize every aspect that goes on out in the water, whether that's a swimmer, a surfer, marine activity, boating, all those sort of things. So, you know, our obligation is to protect you all. So yeah, like I say, stay calm, float with the current. The rips are designed where they move around the bank. So all you got to do is there's one or two things you can do. Swim adjacent to shore. So that's because I was talking about earlier, the rips go out to sea. You want to swim left or right of that direction going out to sea. So just swim left or right adjacent to shore, because what happens is as you move out with the rip, if you're moving at a 90-degree angle away from that rip, you still might be moving out to sea, but you're actually escaping its clutches by going in the opposite direction of left or right. And that rip, the claws or the tentacles of the rip will let you go. Then you can get back to the safety of the bank or go and catch the next wave and get out of trouble there. So I hope that helps. So yeah, float with the current, swim parallel to the breaking waves, you will escape it. They're your basic philosophies of rip management. So yeah. Okay, we'll just move this back over so I can read my slide. Personal, yeah.
Sorry, Rory, just before you go on.
Yeah, no problem.
Mate, if you are in a rip, does it normally go a certain distance, like out to where the waves are starting to break, or does it vary, or
Yeah,
what
it
happens
does. Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked, Dale. It does vary. So that sort of comes back to some of the different characteristics of rips where I was talking about flash rips. Flash rips pretty well like a 5 to 10 meter thing. A fixed rip can last, it can go anywhere from like 30 meters to 100 meters or so. Permanent rip, that can go the whole length. Say if you're at the spit next to the rock wall, you can go the whole length of the rock wall plus another 50 meters or something like that. So it does vary. Yeah, the potential for rips, they really are their own sort of evil thing in a sense, because as much water that moves, when you're talking about that excess water, it can create more of a channel, which in turn creates more current, and then it can actually widen. So say a really narrow rip, all of a sudden from say 2 or 3 meters apart can go to like 5 to 10 meters apart, and it can just be a raging river on its own. So it can be its own entity, if that makes sense. So yeah, it really does vary, and the danger element is still the same, but yeah, it certainly can vary depending on the water flow. So yeah, so it just brings me back once again to your personal ability and your self-preservation. So what I say to a lot of people, they will want to surf. Everyone wants to surf these days. Everyone loves coming to the beach. It's just like, I just say, look, recognize your own personal ability. It's all well and good to, maybe show off to friends or just go, no, I've got this. Or, you hear it a lot in Australian sort of colloquialism calls like, yeah, I should be right, mate. I've got it. No worries. Well, the ocean's got other stories. It's going to knock you back down. And if you're sort of biting off more than you can chew, well, you're going to get flogged pretty hard. You know what I mean? So personal ability, recognizing your own personal ability is key, because, even now for myself, I've been around the ocean for a long time, but I don't really like to surf anything bigger than say 8 to 10 feet. And I still consider that pretty big. But I know that I'm really uncomfortable outside of 10 feet, just surfing ability. As far as swimming or being on the jet ski and that, I'm not really scared at all. But just as far as surfing, if anyone's been out in bigger surf, it's quite daunting, You see these guys and girls charging massive waves. They've really got their head together. They've got their physical body together. They're confident in their ability. So that's something I'd really encourage, measure against the environment you're about to enter. So that's coming back to spending that time analysing the ocean, conducting a risk assessment, look for those potential dangers, don't sort of sit there or not sit there and just rock up and go straight out and go, yep, I want to go and surf that peak over there, but I haven't seen what's going on in between or how the actual ocean might change in an hour or two with the tides, things like that. Or the rocks, you're surfing a place near rocks. You want to make sure you allow yourself enough room for maybe a mishap to happen or potential dangers to present themselves. You've sort of got to recognize that within yourself. So just don't bite off more than you can chew. All right. It is about self-preservation in the end, and you want to come home to your family, or your friends. You want to be able to do this again. So you've got to sit there and go, okay, where is it suitable for me to go? Whether it's swimming or surfing, You know, maybe I'll just go to this point where the waves are sort of medium breaking, or I can safely stand on the bank and just catch a couple, get a feel for things. Or I'm an intermediate surfer, I'm looking to advance my skills. I'm going to go out the back where it's a bit bigger, right where those waves are breaking, real close to the rocks. Do you think I can handle that? What about if, you know, am I ready for that sort of situation? So that's what you've got to ask yourself. Just know your limitations. If it doesn't feel right, I'm a big believer in listening to your intuition or your instinct. And if it doesn't feel right, usually that first feeling you get, the gut feeling, that's the right one. So I'd encourage you all to stay with that. You know, if you're just standing there and you're sort of like, I feel like I could do that today, or nah, maybe not. You see a couple of sets, you see a couple of people get really hammered. You're like, yeah, maybe not. Then just listen to yourself and go, okay, might just give it a miss today, but I'll just stay here for the next hour or two and just watch it anyway. Just so then you can really get an understanding, because there's obviously a lot of good watermen and women out there and keen enthusiasts. Just spend time watching them and see how they might handle things. The biggest thing with the surfboard is, you know, with a leg rope attached to it, that's your personal flotation device, you know. So whatever happens, you get into a situation where you may be overwhelmed with anxiety, or you get worked and you're just totally flogged and you keep getting more waves on the head, you just hang on to that board. You know, generally there's good empathetic people out there, if like none of us are around, that will come over and help you. You know, don't be shy to call out for help. I always encourage to not surf on your own, but you know, if you are surfing on your own, just hang on to your board. That's your lifesaver right there. Obviously, stay calm and grab your surfboard. Don't follow. I'd encourage you all to not follow everyone else, what they're doing. I know, like, obviously recently with that shark attack, well, not recently, but, you know, within the last year, that shark attack at Greenmount, you know, there were thousands of people in the water. There's a lot of whales coming up the coast, and there might be some, you know, sharks around, but, you know, in relation to going out to a specific surf break, you know, don't necessarily follow everyone else. They might be making poor choices, and, you know, those choices that they make could take you out to a place where you don't want to be. So I think it's really important to continue to make your own decision. And once again, that's backed by knowledge. So really, you know, if you know you're going to a particular break, do some research, you know, get online, check out some of the surfing sites, read up a little bit about it, even pull up Google Maps, Google Earth, have a look at the geographical layout of the coast and see if that actually can give you some more insight before you go to that area. So you're just totally familiar with everything. Because if you go somewhere and you're not familiar with anything at all, when you go there, you're just opening yourself up to potential hazards and dangers that you might not be comfortable with. All right. Landmarking. Maybe some of you do this, maybe some of you don't, but I refer to landmarking as a reference point. When Dale's talking about, you know, big swells, you know, currents and rips, the ocean can move you around quite significantly. So it's really important when you say initially paddle out the back, or even before you paddle out, just pick a decent landmark that's, you know, it could be a house, it could be something distinctive, you know, a group of rocks, a particular shaped tree, anything like that, that you can actually use as a reference point as you're sitting out there, so that, you know, it will keep you in the area where you're comfortable, or where you know the waves are going to continuously break. Because sometimes things just move around, and you've got to be prepared for the ocean to move around a lot whilst you might not feel it at the time, but if you look back and all of a sudden you're sort of 50 meters away from that reference point, at least you know then you go, okay, well, the ocean did move me. I didn't feel it much, but it did move me. So I think it's really important to have that. have that there. Really important, more so for swimming than for surfing, but surfing, it's a good reference point for that reason. We'll go into additional ocean hazards. So rocks, surf, rocks, other surfers, boats, and other aquatic craft. If you've surfed Currumbinally before, or even Rainbow Bay, like Snapper through Rainbow to Kira. I don't know if anyone saw it last weekend, but it was shoulder to shoulder. There were people everywhere. And the majority of first aid cases we deal with are sort of surfboard related injuries. So lacerations, dislocations, some not so pretty, but, just being aware once again of other people around you. The ocean's a big reserve for people to, put their boats in, and people are foiling now, and you got kite surfers and you got windsurfers, and, especially Currumbinally, we haven't had any like major incidents there for a while, but you do get boats zipping in and out sometimes. So it's just good to be aware of that as well. Your own attitude towards the ocean, that sort of comes back to, my own ability, your own self-acceptance of who you are and what drives you to go into the ocean. People's sort of lack of attitude there is, it lets them down. It actually puts them in dangerous situations, which in turn affects other people. And it also affects us because, we've had people come down and we try and pass on our knowledge onto them, and they basically tell us to bugger off. But then as soon as they get into trouble, they want our help. So, attitude's massive. You've got to, with all the people that are surfing on the Gold Coast these days, everyone wants to get waves. I do, Sally does. We all want to get our fair share of waves, but I think it's the attitude that we take into the water, which will, hopefully it's a good attitude, because the ocean's a beautiful place. Surfing's a beautiful gift. We have, for us, even with this COVID time, we get to go out in the water. We're doing it really sort of, we're really lucky, besides most other people in the world, rest of the world. So, we've got to take that attitude forward. Some people just surf because they say they just want to surf, but surfing's more about an attitude. It's a lifestyle. It's a good thing to do, but it's what sort of attitude do you want to take out in the water? And that's like reflective of yourself, what you want to achieve, what you want to accomplish when you go out in the water. But just sharing that stoke, that vibe. I don't see that a lot out here these days because there's too many people. Well, there's a lot of people surfing, and there's a lot of people that want their slice of the cake, So I really just encourage you all to just take that stoke out. If you see a stranger getting a really good wave, give them a hoot. It feels good. You want them to do the same for you, That's what keeps us coming back. I've always had that belief, even when I was younger, that the ocean gives us so much, and you really want to share that stoke and love, with others, with like-minded people, not just like, hey, piss off, that's my wave, get out of my way, I'm not a fan of that. So I encourage you all to, to really bring that to the fore as well. So obviously rips, the ocean, rips and currents, big waves, dumping waves, all those sort of things are pretty problematic. But other creatures in the ocean, has anyone had any experience with jellyfish, blue bottles? Everyone's maybe been stung, yeah. It's not very comfortable, and the level of sting you get sometimes can be really. Sometimes, I've been stung all over my body, and I sort of felt okay, but then I had a little one sting me on the foot once, and I almost felt like I could pass out. So you just don't know the level of toxins that you could actually get released sometimes. It's not life-threatening unless you have a history of allergic reaction. And if that's the case, seek medical aid straight away as much as you can, like as quick as you can. Blue ring octopus, with the rocky sort of beaches and stuff, you generally won't have to deal with those too much because they keep to themselves and they're in those little sort of rock crevices and that from time to time. If you are rock hopping, like Lennox Head or something like that, I've never been stung, but there's just something to be mindful of. Sea snakes, they're generally not problematic because unless they bite you in the cusp of the webbing of your hand, like they're the deadliest snake around, but unless they can bite you there, you've got nothing to worry about. So they're generally not too bad. And then obviously the sharks. There are sharks about. We have, I think the recorded number lately has been 30,000 odd whales migrating now. So the number's increasing every year, but that brings with it other sharks because, well, sharks and even killer whales. There's been some orcas spotted lately as well. So they'll like to follow the whale migration. I've never heard of any surfer being attacked by an orca, but the juvenile white sharks are generally been a bit problematic. And that attack that happened at Coolangatta or Greenmount the other year, that was by a juvenile great white. They're just following the sort of the whale migration, but there's also been a lot of bait fish around. So if you're surfing and there are bait fish everywhere underneath your board, you really want to get out of there. Stick your legs up on top of your board. If you're sitting there on the beach and you see heaps of bait fish around, don't go surfing in the bait fish. You might not see sharks actively charging through, but there's a good chance that they are there. So I just advise against that, especially with the amount of activity that we've seen, especially over the last year. And then the other ocean hazards that you need to be aware of is just the weather and the tides. Storms will blow, over a certain amount of time and a certain intensity, and that's what brings us the waves. That combined with the tides, some places like Hawaii and Indonesia, you could be sitting there on a flat day or even a 2-foot day, and then within an hour, it'll get up to 8 to 10 foot. So, when you're doing a potential geographical assessment or risk assessment before you go out somewhere or you're going to a new beach, look at all those things, like I say, the tides, the tidal variance, what the weather might do. And if that swell is going to potentially increase during that time that you're out there in the water. And, you might be comfortable in 2 foot, and then before you know it, it's 8 foot. And you're like, oh man, I can't even get back into shore. I'm really uncomfortable out here. So,
hey, Rory, I just there's a question in the chat from Sylvie.
yeah.
What do you mean with bait fish? Any sort of smaller fish in larger swarms?
Yeah, so I guess we've got little bits of, there's bull sharks that will come out of the creek mouths. Now, I'll just tell everyone now that in my 20 years of lifeguarding, I have not seen a shark in the creek, necessarily out in the ocean. So you're actually pretty safe because we've got all the drum lines and the nets there. So the odds of you actually getting attacked are about 100 million to 1. So that, but
I think with at the moment, the mullet are swimming.
Okay, the mullet definitely are.
Yeah, and I know that it's a kind of a common term for those schools of mullet.
Yes.
To be congregating and moving up and down the coast, and you'll see the fishermen that are sitting in their utes with their nets on the beach, waiting for them to come in, because then they go out and literally just catch them with the net and then pull them in.
Yeah.
So that term of bait fish for me, I know it is more in regards to those big school of mullet.
Yeah.
That right?
Yes. So sorry. Yeah. So with the whale migration and the protection that they've received over the last 5 or 10 years, it's actually and the protected coastline of the East Coast. There's a lot of national park protected parks, so the ecology has been able to really flourish. But But yeah, with the whale migration, the mullet comes up with that as well. Now, this sort of comes back to the currents too. So we've got a lot of those weather systems that push the swell up that we love so much, pushes those currents up, but with that pushes a lot of fish activity. So now, yeah, you might be down at Kirra there and you'll see those, they're the contract mullet fishermen. Now I've got a special license where they can just sit there for days on end and just, you know, wait for the mullet to collect in the gutters there. Now sharks love mullet and they don't mind swimming in the gutters. But yeah, so that really just emphasizes that point of if there's bait fish around and you're surfing in the middle of it, just stick your legs up and just remain calm until that bait fish ball passes. Ideally, if you're looking at the beach prior to surfing and you see a lot of bait fish activity, I'd probably flag the surf that day or go find another beach, because that will certainly increase, you know, it'll decrease that 100,000,001 chances of being eaten by a shark or attacked by a shark. So, you know, I don't want to say it's a slightly higher probability, you're still quite safe, but once again, that's about self-preservation, just going, well, I just want to err on the side of caution here, and I'm not going to go out into it, you know. So, you know, you might even be able to sit there for half an hour and see the bait fish move through that gutter or that surf zone and just continue on, and then you'll see nothing but clear water. Then you can go out and have a surf. Sometimes, you know, say it's an overcast day, you're not really going to see that bait fish either. So, yeah, once again, depending on where you're surfing, if we're around, come and ask us, have you seen much, you know, bait fish activity today or anything like that? Us personally, we will let everyone know if there's an element of danger, then we will definitely, you know, put your lights first and we'll let you know. And that's either like generally with a loudspeaker sort of announcement. I won't sound the shark alarm straight away unless it's an imminent sort of problem. I'll generally get on the PA system and just say, hey, surfers, we've got a big bait ball approaching your area. Just want you to be aware we can't see what might be chasing that bait ball or you know, but usually it's that old sort of adage of like, when there's little fish, there's bigger fish. So just keep that in mind. You know, it's once again, it's just basically making a bit of a risk assessment. So I hope that answers that question for you there. If you're happy to move on, I'll go to the next slide. So I'll talk about panic. So panic is a big issue with surfers, especially new surfers, because you're not really aware of what's, you know, maybe going on. You haven't done enough background work. You haven't spent time looking. You sort of, yeah, you may be unprepared for what might be coming. So panic's a brief episode of intense anxiety, which causes the physical sensations of fear. So you mentally you're like, oh shit, something's going on here. I'm out of my zone. I'm out of my comfort level here. And that triggers a physiological response. So you know, that's when I talk about, I'm breathing heavily and rapidly here. I'm using all this oxygen and I can't calm myself down. But, you know, if you can recognize that feeling you're getting, just take a moment and just breathe. You're right. Reassure yourself. Even if you're with a friend that's panicking, just say, hey, it's okay. I'm here. Or just calm down. Just take a couple of breaths and just settle yourself down. But, you know, panic is generally a result of you not being totally prepared or not being aware that you're well and truly out of your depth here, or you're out of your comfort zone. Panic can still happen at a certain level of professionalism, but it's less of an occurrence because you are more prepared. You're more aware. You're physically capable. You're mentally capable of being where you are in that situation in that moment. Okay. So yeah, so panic is fear of the unknown. We're not going to always know everything, but in this world, or in this scenario or situation where we are in the ocean as a surfer, we really have the ability to be able to prepare ourselves as best as we can, because we've got all the knowledge, we've got access to the knowledge, we've got access to certain people. You know, we can control our own sort of physical nature, but like, you know, as a surfer, you want to have a good physical ability. Otherwise, you know, you might get held down for a couple of waves and bang, you know, you're in a world of hurt. You're well and truly like in a big trouble, and you don't know how to deal with it. So, you know, I encourage you all to, be enthusiastic, active surfers, but, you know, it comes with preparation too, you know, physical preparation and mental preparation. So physical preparation, things like, you know, good active lifestyle. So, you know, regular cardiovascular work, swimming, running, riding, those sort of activities. And psychological is doing courses like Sally's running, where, you know, she really equips you with the breath apnea work, because you go into that level of fear response, holding your breath for certain periods of time. You can actually train your body and your mind to hold your breath for a long period of time. You can actually survive more than you think you can on little to no oxygen. The human body can survive on CO2 for quite some time in the scheme of things. So even with that knowledge there, if you can bring that to your next session, and maybe you're underprepared, but if you experience something, you can know it's okay, I can survive here. I've just got to calm my nervous system down. If I panic and breathe heavily, I trigger my nervous system. I'm in all sorts of licorice, all sorts there, you know. So it's important to just keep that in mind. Because the ocean environment's so vast, there's so many factors that can contribute to our personal being and state of mind. It's just really important to be aware of everything around you. And that's why I say it's not just about, you know, standing up, riding a wave. It's about understanding the whole ocean and the environment that you're in. And that'll really equip you and give you the best experience that you could possibly have or want for yourself. So yeah, that's really, really powerful.
Sorry, can I just?
No, it's okay, please.
There's some people that are needing to shoot off soon.
Okay.
Elaine, just to reply that, I'm gonna email out the link to that recording for the rips that was at the beginning, that the video that didn't play.
Yeah, sure.
And for those of you who are interested in doing the surf apnea course, there is one coming up on the 15th of August. It is for men and women. Sometimes I just do a women only one. So I'll put those details in there, as well as with the Evolve course that's coming up on the 8th of August as well. So cool. I'll email that out after we finish.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Rory.
No worries. Yeah, like I say, please interject at any time. I want to encourage you all to talk, ask any questions you feel necessary, because I would love to help you. If I'm babbling on too much or whatever, just, you know, and you don't understand, just please interject.
Yeah, I think we'll start wrapping that up soon, if that's all right, Rory.
Sure, no problem.
Cool.
All right, so if we can go down. So what you can do, I think this is probably important, if we can, I'll gloss over this quite quickly. So, you know, what we can do to help yourself and others in the situation, let someone know you're going and the intended time you're willing to spend there. So even if you're going surfing on your own, just let someone know, because then at least, you know, they'll be aware. If something did go down, they'll be like, okay, we can make some calls or inquiries. Obviously, swim at patrolled zones and safe areas like lagoons or enclosures that are patrolled. Swim with a friend where possible. Same with surfing. If you can go surfing with someone, it's always better, because if something does happen, at least someone's there to help or provide assistance. So research the area where you intend to go. Have appropriate swimwear. You know, obviously, I don't think any of you are going to go swimming in your hoodies or track pants or anything like that, but that's generally an important one. Don't panic. Make sure you are well prepared. That's what I would say. remain as calm as possible, regulate your breathing. You know, like in our busy lifestyles that we have, you know, even in our daily work situations, just take a moment and even just do like, you know, 5 deep breaths. You'd do wonders for yourself. Employ logic.
Or you can come along to my breath class. That's twice a week.
Come along to the breath class. There you go.
Just a bit of a plug there.
Yeah, no, please. No, that's part of it too, you know, like
Yeah.
if you can help yourself by doing other things like that, because it's multifaceted surfing, you can really get the best from yourself there and use other people's knowledge, like Sally. You know, she's an amazing individual, and she can really help you out a lot. So employ logic, understand the danger you're in, what you can do to help yourself to get out of danger. And that's what we've sort of talked about that already. So, you know, you can inform other people to help others, inform other people about potential dangers and hazards. Maybe some of the knowledge you've gained here tonight, go and tell some of your other friends that maybe didn't attend or they intend on surfing or swimming. You can give them now further insight into how they can maybe help themselves and stuff. Yeah, obviously.
I just want to see if we can use the last like five or so minutes and just open it up to everybody else. I know you've got some other things in the slides.
Yeah, no
but
problem.
I think it's also really important. No, that's all right. And fantastic information, like Rory. I think that how you've described things and the depth that you've gone in has been really, really valuable. And obviously we just got a bit of time restraints, but can I just open it up to everyone here? Maybe if you can, Rory, go and put it onto the grid view so we can see everybody, and just if anyone's got any experiences of, say, I think it's up in the right hand corner, Rory. Any experiences that you may want to share of either rescuing other people, or if you've been rescued yourself, or even a situation of paddling out and being caught in a rip or a sweep or anything. Has anyone got anything there to
add?
Yeah.
No.
A bunch of us were in Greenmount only a few weeks ago, sunrise as we do.
Yep.
And big fishbowl, big mullet ball came in around us really quick. And then we all scooted away from it. It went away and it came back. Okay. And when the bait fisherman raced out beside us and pulled it in, there was about a 4-foot shark in it, in the net.
Yeah, wow. You're kidding.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yep.
That was only a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Wow.
So many mullet. It was insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
We couldn't swim out of it. So we'd leave and then it just kept coming back, and they eventually caught it.
Okay. Yeah, you know, sharks generally know what they were after. So, you know, like I say, if you just stick your legs up, if you see that and you just stick your legs up, Jen, you should be good to go. It'll generally move on, but yeah, it just goes.
We all just yelled out to each other
Yeah.
When anyone saw the fish getting close to someone, it was like we just yelled out to come back.
Yeah, cool.
So
that's good. No, that's good.
Surfing.
Yeah, sorry if I did waffle on a bit tonight. I was trying to be maybe, you know, provide enough content so that, you know, we could obviously extend for the hour. But yeah, if there's more stuff you would like to learn or know, then please make contact with Sally, and we can organise some more sort of seminars or sessions, or, you know, I'd be happy to work with some people too. If you are interested, we can work some things out. But yeah, I was probably too prepared or over prepared, but
what you did was perfect.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. You know, I hope that this is being able to give everybody a little bit more understanding, especially for having just your head in the game of reacting to the situation of what the ocean's providing you, and not having what your intentions are in your head to just go, oh, I want to do this today, so it's going to happen. The ocean doesn't work like that. It really doesn't. Like, you have Mother Nature is stronger than we are, and we have to respect that, and we have to also be able to respect our own ability and our own skill and our own fitness level. And just touching on the point of what Rory made, that be prepared mentally, get your knowledge, get your breathing sorted out, but also like be strong and know how to paddle, because I've been in many situations where I'm absolutely knackered and I need to get out of either a rip, or I need to get kind of under 6 waves that are landing on my head, and I know now that I just say, okay, I'm done, I'm going in, and there's no shame in that. But when I started surfing, it was very much the ego starts talking to you. No, I can do this, you know, and at the end of the day, that's when you get into trouble, because you need to have at least a certain amount in your of energy left to be able to get you out of danger. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, personal fitness is crucial, definitely. As far as surfing technique and body movement goes, if you want to do any specific online training, Chris Mills, surf strength coach.
Yeah,
he's really good. He does work with Clayton Nienaber. It's an amazing online program. You can do that from the comfort of your own home. But that's purely surf specific training. So that could be something to consider with strength wise. Get in a pool and swim. Join Sally's group. There's other breakaway groups as well that do other stuff as well. So Sally's very, very well networked.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
I like to share it with everyone so we can all have fun.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. All about. So yeah.
Has anyone got anything else to add, or any questions or queries or anything?
I was just going to ask, it'd be really cool to do a workshop on current and swells and tides and...
Yeah, sure.
More information, specific information about that?
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah, I'll get the slides. That'd be good too.
I'll get Rory to email me the slides after we finish.
Yeah, sure.
And I can email them on to you guys. So you mean with the currents and stuff more than what we talked about this evening? Do you mean about how to read swell reports, for example?
Exactly. Yeah.
That type of stuff.
Bit of a visual demonstration.
Yeah.
I'd like that too, actually. That'd be really good.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And especially I really like what Rory was talking about in regards to looking up on Google Maps and figuring out, if you've read the surf report and you know that the wind's coming from a northwest, and you know that your beach, you don't know which direction the beach is looking, then you can actually go on Google Maps and get the compass and then figure out that, the northwest for Greenmount, for example, this morning was like across onshore.
Yeah.
And you can figure out, that's how you can cross-reference with different platforms and different information, and then you're going down there completely prepared. Or for you, Jade, for example, in Melbourne, you don't waste a trip all the way down the coast and get down there and it's shit.
Exactly.
I know what to do. So okay, well that's I'll take note of that, because that will be something that we could definitely do. And an interactive one as well. So okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks.
Anything else? Oh, Jen, take
Jen?
yourself on mute. Oh,
it's
Jen's
saying
got to
bye.
go. Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, we're gonna finish up unless anyone else has got something to say. No, all good. Cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, the slides will come to you afterwards.
Yeah, get you that video.
Yeah, the video should work in it as well. And any questions, queries, or any other ideas of some Zoom presentations additional to Jade, then just let me know. Cool.
Great. Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
thank you, everybody. Thanks, Rory.
Thanks.
No worries. Hey, Rory, do you want to stay on and we'll have a bit of a chat?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
All right. I'll stop recording.
Perfect. Thanks. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It's all good.
Awesome.
It's all good. Yeah, it's all good now. Sorry, I couldn't
just got
respond.
home.
We had too much.
Hey,
I had too much information.
that's all good. Jade's still on, but I'm not sure. I think she must have
Right.
gone. Yeah, Rory, you still
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah,
Hang on, I'll put
your
the video
camera's
back
off,
on.
but that's all good. Yeah, no, really, really good. But yeah, maybe underestimated maybe slightly the amount of great discussion behind just the slides, because
Yeah.
you really do have a lot of knowledge, which is valuable knowledge and really important. Yeah, I mean, that just comes with experience from what I can, hello, Willow.
Yeah.
From what I can, from my experience, it
Yeah,
just comes
yeah.
with doing it and getting that timeline of how much you want to
Yeah. How much you
kind
want
of
to sort of talk about?
yeah, how much you
Yeah.
want to go into it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you do have quite a lot to go through, you have to be able to build in a little bit of self kind of, I suppose, discipline of time, pulling yourself in and sticking to a bit of a program with it all.
For sure.
You know, not to say that, I mean, yeah, like these slides will still go to everybody, and that's really valuable. And the video will be in there as well. So
I know what you're saying. It's I was probably too over prepared in the sense that I had too much I was just wanted to make sure, because I thought,
and it's probably like because Rory's been doing uni where he has these massive uni assignments, so he's so used to like putting in so much
detail.
Yeah. So there's so much there, but
I get it. And it's for me do like, you know, my experience doing presentations and stuff, only having like maybe like 4 or 5 points visually, and then you can open it up more with the conversation. But you know, I mean, I didn't want to pull it apart too much before we actually went live tonight with what you presented, because we just don't know. I just, you know, it's I'm a true believer of doing it then changing it afterwards, because that's the experience, isn't it? So so but
no, that's good. That's good to know.
I thought
was it good? Was it well received?
Yeah, really well received.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. It's certainly hard to tell, because I mean, some people won't say anything, but
and some people don't have their cameras on, and then you can't see half the people because you've got your slides up. And so it's it's very.
Oh, it's still there. Sorry, cut out.
Wilson.
Hi, Dad.
Hey, darling. I didn't get to all of that, but that's okay.
Oh, wow.
The video didn't work either. I'm just trying to work. So how can I stop recording? Because it's not stop video, because that will block her out. There we go. Oh, they're recording there. Stop recording.